landlord's daughter steals my art, I make her regret it. The chipped ceramic mug warmed my hands, the cheap coffee inside doing little to soothe the knot in my stomach. Deadlines loomed, the art fair was weeks away, and inspiration felt like a distant memory. Still, I had to keep going. Rent wasn't going to pay itself. I glanced around my cramped studio apartment, a space that doubled as my living area, bedroom, and creative haven. Canvases leaned against every wall. Tubes of paint cluttered a makeshift table, and the air hung thick with the scent of turpentine. Mrs. Davison, my landlord, knocked gently on the doorframe, her smile as warm as the cookies she held out. "Just wanted to see how my favorite artist is doing, dear." I forced a smile. Mrs. Davison was a sweetheart, always bringing treats and offering encouragement. She owned the whole building, a creaky old Victorian house converted into apartments. "Just trying to stay afloat," I said, accepting a cookie. "The art fair is looming." "Oh, Tiffany is so excited about that," she chirped, referring to her daughter, who was less endearing. Tiffany, in her early 20s, was a frequent visitor, usually sporting designer clothes and a perpetually unimpressed expression. She made it abundantly clear she thought my art was, well, let's just say she thought she could do better. "Really?" I said, trying to sound enthusiastic. Tiffany had mentioned something about dabbling in art, but I hadn't taken it seriously. "Yes, she's been working so hard. She's always been so creative," Mrs. Davison beamed, oblivious to the tension radiating off me. "Well, I'll leave you to it. Let me know if you need anything, dear." As soon as the door clicked shut, I let out a sigh. Tiffany. The thought alone was enough to deflate my already fragile motivation. Days turned into weeks, filled with frantic painting and mounting anxiety. I was particularly proud of one piece, a large, abstract canvas bursting with vibrant colors and raw emotion. It felt like me, distilled onto a single surface. I planned to make it the centerpiece of my art fair booth. Then, it happened. I came home late one evening, exhausted but eager to put the finishing touches on another painting. I unlocked my apartment door and stepped inside. Something felt wrong. A chill, not from the temperature, but from a sense of violation. I scanned the room, my heart pounding. Everything seemed in place, but then I noticed it. The wall where my prized abstract had been hanging was bare. Panic clawed at my throat. I searched frantically under the bed, behind the sofa, even in the tiny closet. Nothing. The painting was gone. I ran upstairs to Mrs. Davison's apartment, my hands shaking. She opened the door, her face etched with concern. "Clara, what's wrong?" "My painting? It's gone. Someone stole it," I blurted out, tears welling up in my eyes. Mrs. Davison gasped. "Oh, my dear, how awful. I can't imagine who would do such a thing. I'll call the police right away." She seemed genuinely distraught, and I believed her. She was always so kind and supportive. I mumbled my thanks and returned to my apartment, feeling numb. I spent the rest of the night searching every corner, hoping I'd somehow misplaced it. But it was gone. The next few days were a blur of police reports, insurance claims, and mounting despair. I tried to paint, but the inspiration had vanished, replaced by a gnawing sense of loss and betrayal. Then I saw her. I was grabbing coffee at the local cafe, trying to muster the energy to face another day, when I spotted Tiffany. She was sitting at a table by the window, radiating smug satisfaction. She caught my eye and offered a saccharine smile. Something about her demeanor, the way she held herself, triggered a wave of suspicion. A seed of doubt began to sprout in my mind. I started paying closer attention to her social media. She'd been posting a lot about the art fair, talking about her passion for painting and teasing glimpses of her new artwork. The captions were filled with hashtags like emerging artist and originart. My stomach churned. Driven by a desperate need to know the truth, I decided to go to the art fair a few days early, under the guise of helping a friend set up her booth. I wandered around, pretending to admire the artwork, my heart pounding in my chest. And then I saw it. There it was, hanging proudly in Tiffany's booth, bathed in the warm glow of the afternoon sun. My painting. The painting I had poured my heart and soul into. The painting that had been stolen from my apartment. My breath caught in my throat. I stared at it, speechless, my mind reeling. Tiffany was standing beside it, chatting animatedly with a potential buyer, her face flushed with pride. "It's a very personal piece," she was saying, gesturing dramatically with her hand. "It represents a journey of self-discovery, a breaking free from societal constraints." I wanted to scream. I wanted to rip the painting off the wall and smash it over her head. But I couldn't. I was frozen, paralyzed by shock and disbelief. Finally, I found my voice, a shaky whisper. "That's my painting." Tiffany turned around, her eyes widening in feigned surprise. "Oh, Clara, what a coincidence. I didn't know you were here." "That's my painting, Tiffany. You stole it." My voice was louder now, fueled by anger. She laughed, a brittle, artificial sound. "Don't be ridiculous, Clara. I painted this myself. It's quite insulting to suggest otherwise." "I have proof," I said, my hands trembling. "I have photos of it in my apartment. I have sketches. I know every brushstroke, every color." "Oh, please," she scoffed, rolling her eyes. "Anyone can take a photo of a painting. It doesn't prove anything. You're just jealous because I'm actually talented." A small crowd had started to gather, drawn by the raised voices. Mrs. Davison appeared, her face a mask of confusion. "What's going on here?" "Tiffany stole my painting, Mom," I said, my voice breaking. "She's claiming it's hers." Mrs. Davison looked from me to Tiffany, her expression hardening. "Tiffany, is this true?" Tiffany burst into tears. "Mom, don't listen to her. She's just trying to ruin my art fair. She's always been jealous of me." Mrs. Davison wrapped her arms around Tiffany, her face filled with concern. There, dear, it's all right. I know you would never do such a thing." She glared at me. "Clara, I'm very disappointed in you. Accusing my daughter of stealing is a serious offense." I stood there, stunned, as Mrs. Davison led Tiffany away, comforting her. The crowd dispersed, whispering and pointing. I felt a wave of nausea wash over me. I was alone, humiliated, and powerless. That night, I called Mark, my best friend. He was a graphic designer, a tech whiz, and the only person I could truly trust. I told him everything, my voice choked with tears. "That's it, Clara," he said, his voice filled with anger. "We're not letting her get away with this. We're going to expose her." And that's how it started. My descent into the world of petty revenge. Mark helped me hatch a plan. It had to be subtle, deniable, and most importantly, effective. We started small. The first step was to undermine Tiffany's credibility. Mark created a series of flyers, cleverly designed to resemble art critiques. They highlighted similarities between Tiffany's work and other artist styles, including, of course, my own. He distributed them discreetly among art fair attendees, leaving them on tables and tucked into brochures. The next day, I overheard people whispering about Tiffany's lack of originality. She looked flustered and defensive as she tried to explain away the similarities. It was a small victory, but it felt good. But Tiffany wasn't going to take it lying down. A few days later, I found my art supplies vandalized. Tubes of paint were slashed open, brushes were broken, and canvases were ripped. A note was scrawled across the wall in black paint. "Stay away from my art fair." My blood boiled. This wasn't just about a stolen painting anymore. It was about principle. It was about standing up for myself and refusing to be bullied. We escalated the game. I started creating a series of satirical paintings, subtly mocking Tiffany's art style and personality. I posted them online, using vague captions that hinted at the drama unfolding behind the scenes. The paintings were biting, humorous, and undeniably clever. They started gaining traction, attracting attention from other artists and art enthusiasts. Meanwhile, Mark was busy digging up dirt. He used his tech skills to track down security footage from the building, hoping to catch Tiffany on camera stealing the painting. He also started contacting other artists, looking for evidence of her plagiarism. We discovered that Tiffany had a history of copying other people's work. She'd plagiarized essays in college, stolen designs for her fashion blog, and even copied lyrics for a song she'd written. We had a pattern. The final piece of the puzzle came when Mark found an online forum where Tiffany had bragged about stealing my painting. She posted a photo of it claiming it was her own, and solicited feedback from other users. It was irrefutable proof. With all the evidence in hand, we knew it was time for the big reveal. I learned that Tiffany had entered her stolen painting into a prestigious art competition judged by Mr. Henderson, the renowned gallery owner. The judging was open to the public, and it was the perfect opportunity to expose her on a grand scale. I spent the next few days preparing for the confrontation. I rehearsed what I was going to say, gathered my evidence, and tried to calm my nerves. I knew it was a risky move, but I had to do it. The day of the competition arrived, and I felt a mix of fear and excitement. I dressed in my best clothes, grabbed my evidence, and headed to the gallery. The gallery was packed with artists, art enthusiasts, and members of the press. Tiffany was there, beaming with confidence, standing proudly beside her masterpiece. Mr. Henderson was making his rounds, examining each piece with a critical eye. I waited for the right moment, my heart pounding in my chest. As Mr. Stressed, Henderson approached Tiffany's painting. I stepped forward. "Mr. Henderson," I said, my voice clear and steady, "I need to speak with you about this painting." Tiffany's face paled. "What are you doing here?" she hissed. "This painting is not hers," I said, gesturing towards Tiffany. "It was stolen from my apartment." A hush fell over the crowd. All eyes were on me. I presented my evidence, the photos of the painting in my apartment, the sketches, the security footage, and the online forum post. I explained how Tiffany had stolen my painting and claimed it as her own. Mr. Henderson listened intently, his expression growing more and more serious. He examined the evidence, comparing it to the painting. Finally, he turned to Tiffany, his voice cold and accusatory. "Is this true?" Tiffany burst into tears, denying everything. But the evidence was overwhelming. She was caught. Mr. Henderson announced that Tiffany's painting would be disqualified from the competition. He apologized to me for the inconvenience and thanked me for bringing the matter to his attention. The crowd erupted in murmurs of shock and disbelief. Tiffany was mortified, her face red with shame. Mrs. Davison rushed to her side, her face a mixture of anger and embarrassment. As Tiffany was escorted out of the gallery, she glared at me, her eyes filled with hatred. "You haven't heard the last of this," she spat. But I didn't care. I had won. I had exposed her lies and reclaimed my art. The aftermath was swift and decisive. News of Tiffany's plagiarism spread like wildfire throughout the local art community and online. She faced criticism and ridicule from other artists and art enthusiasts. Her reputation was ruined. Mrs. Davison was devastated by her daughter's actions. She apologized to me profusely, her voice filled with shame. Our relationship was strained, but I appreciated her sincerity. Mr. Henderson, impressed by my skill and resilience, offered me a spot in his gallery. It was the opportunity I had been waiting for my entire life. My stolen painting was returned to me, and it became the centerpiece of my first solo exhibition. The show was a huge success, and I finally achieved the recognition I deserved. Looking back, I don't regret my descent into petty revenge. It was a difficult and stressful experience, but it taught me valuable lessons about standing up for myself, fighting for what I believe in, and never letting anyone steal my dreams. And I now have an even better alarm system. And 1000 Google. As I signed for the package, Brenda, my neighbor, stopped by to congratulate me on my success. A subtle but knowing smile played on my lips. I had won, and I knew deep down that I was finally free.